Hey, welcome into a snowy, cold camp it is, but whew, what are we talking about today? Chicken and rice casserole with some green chilies. Why is this dish favorite? Why should you try it? Because my mother taught me how to make it when I was about 10 or 11 years old, and she would grace it on our table so many cold days when you'd come in horseback and that would be sitting there. Whew, it just warmed you up, your heart and your soul. My mother taught me to cook, and she said, cook what you love for the ones you love. So I'm cooking this for all of y'all because I love you, and I'm cooking it for my little sweet wife, which I love more than anything. So I think we better get started because my feet is freezing. You know, this is pure comfort food at its best to me, because I can remember my mother and dad and Cindy and Randy and Dale and me all gathered around a table, and Mama would put this out there in some of that old corningware, that casserole dish, and lay it on the table. We'd bless the food and eat it. And to me, there was nothing more special than that moment growing up, because there was all the family there. But my mother put so much heart and soul into everything she cooked, and she taught me to cook that way too, so I hope y'all enjoy. So you know what I say, you can't get full on fancy, so let's get after it. Melted me a half a stick of butter, diced up 2 celery stalks and a white onion. We're gonna get it in there and let all the love begin. I can remember coming in the house when Mama would just start this dish, and there's just something about me that when you're cooking onions and celery in some butter, that aroma just brings about happiness. There's a lot of memories come flooding in, so hey, I look forward to this dish. Y'all be sure and pay attention. It's pretty easy to do, pretty quick really.
And you actually don't like celery?
No, I don't. I won't eat raw celery, but I don't mind it cooked in something like this. You know, I put it in Mama's cornbread dressing. I put it in this. I don't mind having it with some kind of soups and stews sometime, but just to pick up a stalk and bite it, no, ain't gonna happen.
Not even like with peanut butter?
No, no ma'am, not even with peanut butter, not even with grape jelly. I mean, it just ain't gonna happen. Well, while them is sauteing, we done put us a little sauce pot over here, 1 can of cream of chicken soup, and then a can and a half of warm water back in there, then a half a stick of butter. We're gonna have to bring that to a boil. But this here, when you think that you got them onions and that celery soft, it is time to add the green chili. Now this is where me and my mother differed a little bit, because she'd say, I bet them's hot. She'd use a green bell pepper a lot of times, but if I ever cooked it for her, I'd always put green chilies in it. She never even knew the difference. So we're gonna add about 1/3 of a cup if we can get them shook in there. I'd say that was pretty close. Give them a stir. We don't want to cook these much longer. I just want a little flavor that them green chilies are gonna bring about in here. And then we're gonna slide it off the fire, see if we can get that chicken soup to boil. And then I'll meet you back over here. We'll go to putting it together. Well, 1.5 cups of white rice, uncooked, went right down in the bottom of that. Spread it out pretty evenly if you can. The recipe that my mother always used called for 6 chicken breasts, but these are pretty honking big, they are. So if I can find me some of them rubber gloves, which will make my hands even colder here. And you can see me in the glow-in-the-dark gloves right here, Sharon. But we're gonna trim a little fat off that chicken, if there is any. As cold as it is, there ain't gonna be much problem getting it off there, because fat trims better cold than it does hot. Little piece right there. But I think I'm gonna cut like this one right in half since it's extra big. Same here. And I'll see if I can get that off right there. It's about 30 degrees out here, probably about 28 in the shade. So this chicken ain't thawed out much. Well, first in goes the chicken right on top of the rice. Now, if you're doing this at home, you'll be putting it in a 9x13 casserole dish, and you preheat your oven to about 350 degrees. So we're going to see, can we get all these to fit in here? The boat may get a little overcrowded, but hey, I bet it works. So we're going to season that chicken with some of this mesquite and be pretty generous with it, because the only thing else that we seasoned was the celery, the onions there. So we're going to give this a pretty good dosing. I got a spoon somewhere. Rake all this down here. I could probably eat this all by itself right here. Just sprinkle it around, spread it around, whatever you got to do. Just make sure that everybody gets some on it. I think I could do that probably better by hand, Shan, don't you?
You got your gloves on.
Yeah. And it's warm. It sort of helps warm up my fingers. We're going to take that chicken soup and just drizzle plumb over here across the top. Then we're going to get us a trivet ready to go, and we're going to bake it. You know, if you're cooking this in the house, we told you to preheat that oven to 350 degrees. You're probably going to cook it about an hour and a half. Now, my mother would always cover it with tin foil till about the last 15 minutes, and then she would jerk that off. That way it'd keep a little more moisture in there with that chicken. Now, out here, probably not going to take me maybe 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to try to keep it pretty medium heat. Try to slow it down just a little, make sure that chicken doesn't cook too fast. And you'll see that we prepped that ground really more than y'all probably ever seen it done before. Move the snow off, but that old ground is cold. If you just put coals on there, it sucked the heat out of them things so quick you'd be gone, that first batch would. So always heat the ground with that torch. If you don't have one, lay you a layer of coals out there where you're cooking with that Dutch oven, and then you can rake them aside. Put your trivet down, put some fresh coals, you'll be in pretty good shape. Today, I am using some mesquite and oak, and it is a good hot wood it is. Pretty heavy around the bottom, a little bit lighter on the top. Not much breeze today, so we probably won't have to rotate too much, but we'll keep an eye on it. We'll check this after a while, after we know everything is really good and hot. And probably between a simmer and a boil, just to keep it constant all the way around there to get that rice good and tender, but make sure that that's chicken done. We'll use the chef's temp here at the last to make sure that chicken's the right temperature. Hey, I'm gonna try to get my feet warm by Bertha. We'll just keep on cooking. You know, as we're standing here waiting for that to cook, let's talk about cooking in some cold weather and some tips I have for you, especially dealing with cast iron number one. You know, say it's 10 degrees out there and you've got some cast iron and you're in a hurry, so you just want to throw it out there on the ground and put you a bunch of hot coals on there. That cast iron is cold. I mean, you stick your tongue to that, it's like that kid that stuck his tongue to the flagpole in that movie. It's going to stick to that. You shock that cast iron. What's going to happen? It's probably either going to crack or it's going to warp. Pre-warm that cast iron. I put it up there around old Bertha and rotate it around to where it's got to be at least, I'd say, body temperature. That's the way I want it. Then when you start cooking, ain't nothing going to happen to it. Another thing when you're cooking in cold weather is you're probably going to have to refire an oven, because it's not like a hot day to where you're putting some coals out there and it's 110 degrees. We're talking about freezing temperatures. You may have to put you another layer of coals around the bottom, shake them off on the top if they're not hot. Remember that we showed you? This distance away from it, can you hold it 5 seconds? If you can, it's not hot enough. Shake them off, get you some fresh coals. Now, a lot of times on ranches when I'm cooking, and it's sort of like this weather right here today, and I've got to keep food warm, I take a Yeti ice chest and I go ahead and boil me some water. Pour it in there, let it pre-warm that ice chest. Dump it out, dry it out, then you can store bread in there, baked potatoes in there. I've stored meat in there. I've even cooked brisket in there. After you get it off the fire, put it in there, shut that lid, it will continue to cook. There's so many things that you can do and figure out when you're out here in this kind of weather. And don't think this is not good cooking weather. It's better than sweating. Now, as you're checking that, you won't have to maybe do that in the house, but out here in a Dutch oven, you know, the moisture in there, the rice is going to absorb all that moisture it is, and then that chicken is going to get done right there on top. But I took it off the bottom heat because we'd about got all that moisture out of it, and then I put a few more coals on top to try to brown that chicken just a little. You know, when you're cooking chicken, I like to make sure that chicken is done, and I use me a chef's temp thermometer. Hey, accurate reading, it's really quick, and for our fans, they have got you a special code down there to where you can get one. It is a great product, but remember to check that chicken right there at the end. Make sure it is that desired temperature that you want. Well, I have braved the cold weather, me and Shan, and I am going to get me a piece of this chicken. Sit out here long enough, it has got cold in the snow. First, let's just get a bite of this rice. Thank you, Mama. God bless you. You are a great cook and a great mother. Make me want to do a chicken dance. You ain't seen too many chickens dancing out in the snow, though. It'll freeze your little beak off. You know, that chicken is so tender, and the flavor that you get with the celery and the onions all seems to seep up through there, and that mesquite just tops it off. Hey, it is a great dish. It is 100% comfort food, and I hope you enjoy it because we've enjoyed it for many years. But it is with great pride, privilege, and honor that I tip my hat and salute all the servicemen and women and all the veterans who have kept that old flag a flying in camp, whether it be warm or cold, windy or dry. We appreciate you one and all we do. Rest of you, get on up in here really close. I'm gonna give you a cold weather hug. God bless you, each and every one, and I'm gonna see you down the chicken and green chili and rice casserole tray.
Oh, what happened, Kent?
Seasoning fell in there.